You are listening to episode 50 of the Peaceful Mind Podcast. Welcome to the Peaceful Mind Podcast, a place for creating the peace of mind you need to be the best mom you are created by God to be. If you want to bring more balance, more joy, and more peace to your motherhood, this is the place for you. I'm your host, certified life coach and Catholic mom, Danielle Tino. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, let's get started. Woohoo! Hi, everyone. Could you feel the excitement and the extra energy as I said the word 50 in the opening, announcing that this is the 50th episode of the Peaceful Mind Podcast? And not only am I ready to celebrate that, I'm also ready to talk to you about how you can be celebrating more of the milestones in your life and what that means for what you'll create more of when we pause and really take a look at all the wins that are going on in our life and evaluating that you created them. I mean, it is like, so around the time that this episode is being released, it will be the birthday of the Peaceful Mind Podcast. It'll be a year since I finally just pressed send and I got it out into the world. And I remember leading up to that time, I had been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. I kind of had this inkling. Well, first of all, I love listening to podcasts. And second of all, I thought to myself that I know I have the gift for gab and that it would be a wonderful avenue to market the coaching and really just be able to bridge the gap from myself and those listeners on the other side who might be needing some help and more peace of mind in their life, and that a podcast seemed fun, right? It seemed a fun way to connect. And so here I was focusing and learning how, and you know what, my lower brain came along for the ride. It told me all the reasons why I wasn't ready yet, that I didn't know enough, that there was lots of technical, mumbo jumbo to learn and get over. And you know what? The lower brain was right in some regards, that it was going to be hard and uncomfortable, and I was going to be putting myself out there, opening yourself up to, criticism, and what if it wasn't great, or what if nobody listened? And for the first few episodes, not many really did. But I knew that it's so worth it in life to not listen to that lower part of your brain that tries to keep us safe and avoiding pain, but that my dreams of reaching a lot of moms, right? Like, I do have big dreams, and I know with God as my guide and support, and that if He wills it, that I can be a channel of peace and reach people in His flock who are, suffering. And I have this knowledge and gifts that I want to share, and I want also other moms to see what's possible for their life. Now that I have applied, through life coaching and my own life coach, and really all of the tools and concepts that came to me through certification and for practicing and talking to hundreds of moms now and coaching them, I just am even more passionate about connecting and getting other moms to see that it's only their mind that is keeping them from the life that they dream of, and feeling the peace and the freedom and the joy and having the balance in their life that feels kind of impossible right now. So I am determined more than ever, even though now I have more listeners, I'm more determined than ever to keep going in this marketing avenue of podcasting. And I hope that if you are hearing this episode right now, that you will continue to listen and to share and to review and to help other people come to the Peaceful Mind Podcast and be helped with these amazing tools and concepts that really change your life. Okay, We're talking about celebrating milestones. And, I picked the word milestones because that's something that our brains are very familiar with, right? When it's a big birthday, when it is your 16th and then your 21st or your 50th. We're very used to having celebrations on those kind of big moments. And I think we certainly should. I think that life should be a big celebration because every day really is a gift. And so when you've hit one of those years, it's definitely worth celebrating. I started a tradition with my husband to surprise him with a trip somewhere on those, quote, milestone birthdays. The first one was when he turned 30, and then the second one at 40. And then this year, I've got to kind of hurry up and plan something. Well, at least now that we can travel again, I can get excited and look forward to this year being his 50th. That's right. And I'm not going to allow, even if we couldn't fly, I'm just not going to allow that milestone to move on in life without really celebrating. And either should you. But on today's episode, I want to hone in where it doesn't have to be the big wins, which, again, I'm certainly all for celebrating. But I want you to take a little bit of more of a laser focused look into your life and make a conscious effort to start highlighting and pausing and go searching for the other things that you are actually creating. And from our model series, right, that you are responsible for everything that you have created in your life so far. But are you actually looking around and giving yourself credit for it? Are you evaluating and saying, hey, I did that? How did I do it? Because that's such an important part. We want to go back and find out how we did it. So when our brain tries to tell us that there's something that we can't do or we can't have or we can't experience, we can be like, wait a minute, stop right there, brain. I'm not going to be listening to you because remember when I accomplished X, Y, and Z, and I stopped and I celebrated and I evaluated what it took to create that. And so now I'm not going to listen to you because I know that I can create what I want. It's when I worked in business, a different type of business, when I worked outside of coaching, I can remember we always set these goals, as a team, or you had quarterly goals, and we would accomplish them. And sometimes it would just be a mention in a meeting or a high five or a yay us kind of conversation. And then what happens? You immediately move on to what's next, right? It's there's barely any celebration. And I think that I would like to start a revolution of us stopping and celebrating more. Because doesn't it feel amazing? It feels so good to celebrate, right? We always love a reason for a party. And the reason why is because, you are just you're happy, you're feeling good. And then what happens when you actually stop and think about what you've done or accomplished or the person who you're celebrating, and you actually think about them, right? That's what's happening. And you think about the situation in a way that feels amazing, that brings on these great feelings because your thoughts create how you feel. And then when you're feeling good, you're just you're enjoying life, you're taking massive action, you're doing things that you like, you're not procrastinating, you're just, like I said, enjoying life. And then from there, you create these amazing results. And then it's it just can be this match that's lit. You're feeling so good, then you do something else that feels good, and then you do something else that feels good, and it just builds and continually goes on that way. Our brain is always the first to point out what's not going right about the situation, how it wasn't a win, or how you didn't do everything that you set out to do. It always will do that. It will just show us what's not going out right. Now, only that one part of your brain, but the higher brain the prefrontal cortex, the one that has us planning. This is the one I want you to tap into when we're talking about celebrating your milestones in life. I want you to decide today that you are actually going to, first of all, look at what you've created so far that's amazing and wonderful and relish in it. And really say, how did I do that? What was I thinking? How was I feeling? What did I do to get, whatever it is that you have? And I want you to celebrate it. I want you to give yourself a pat on the back. Maybe that you'll have, give yourself a little reward. I am literally saying that you can walk around your house and just see what you've created physically, and you can celebrate it. One of the things that I, for an example in my house is I can walk around and see all of the pictures, the professional pictures that I have had of my children throughout the years. I remember when I just had the idea when they were small that I was going to take them every month to get their pictures taken. Now I'm talking, I remember being at Sears. There's a place called Portrait Innovations in our town, even Walmart, and then for the year and the 5-year, I had a place called Blue Moon Photography that I took my kids to get just really some nice canvas pictures taken. But I'll just really walk around my house and I will go, good for you, Danielle. Good job. You just celebrate that you were a mom who went to, and I remember packing them up, making sure everything was ready, trying to do it around nap time, having to make the appointment, picking out the outfits, and all of the shenanigans that I did to get them to smile. It was an exhausting afternoon to have to do that every month. And I remember even my mom being like, oh my gosh, you're taking their pictures again. But you know what? I am just celebrating myself these days because I love each and every one of those photos when I walk by and I can remember and see how little they were and how precious, because you do forget, right? If I didn't take the time to do that, I just wouldn't be having the joy that I have right now. Even though I can see them in person right now, I love to go back and reminisce about those days. And though it was a lot of work, it was so worth it. And I'm just saying that that's one thing that I created for myself, that I do a little celebration every time I see it. I just love them, and it was well worth the effort. And I'm like, way to go, Danielle. Another example of celebrating milestones is it's what I talk about with my clients all the time. My clients will come to me after, we coached 1 week, and then they go and apply what we coached on or learned that session, and they come back and they love to start the sessions with telling me something that they get so excited about themselves when they were like, look what happened, and I did, I had such awareness around it, and I didn't beat myself up, or I changed what I was going to do because I caught myself thinking a certain way and I was able to change it in the moment. Of course, there's wins all the time with my clients in coaching sessions, and they immediately want to move on and be like, okay, but that was amazing, but then this is the struggle that I'm going through right now. And yes, that does happen. That's why, part of the reason they're there is for them to be able to get coached on their mind and get their, perspective on their challenges of life and their mom life. But I am always the first one to put my hand up and say, just wait a minute, let's stop before we move on. And I redirect them back to, let's talk about that some more. Let's see how you created that amazingness. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? What did you do when you were feeling that way? How did you create that result, right? Our thoughts create our feelings, which drive our actions, which create our results. That's what we talked about in, previous episodes about the model. And so I want them to revisit their model, right? I want them to revisit how they created their R line, how they created the results, because let's celebrate it. Let's take a time to go, you did that. You showed up. You paused. You were aware. You took responsibility for your own thoughts and your own feelings. You didn't blame it on anyone else. You did that. And it's like, yay. I probably should do something where I have this special button or like some kind of ringtone to go on or a music or something like that, just so we can rack up our celebrations and make it a new habit, make it part of their lives. And I want it to be part of your life too. And another reason why celebrating milestones is just imperative for you to have peace of mind is because of this piece of information. The only reason why you ever want to achieve something in the first place is because of the feeling you will think that you will have once you get it. So if you want to, let's say, get a college degree, the whole time you're thinking about how it will feel when you graduate, once you have it. But you have, when you're starting out in school, you have 4 years, right? And how many smaller celebrations will happen along the way? How many wins? How many achievements? How many times will you, pick going to class over sleeping in? How many times did you, not do well on a test and then put extra effort in and came back and then did well on the next one? How many times did you say no to someone's request to go to a party and instead you made another choice? Maybe you have to, work instead. So there's a lot of wins along the way. And I don't think that you need to wait until the very end, till you're in the cap and gown, to have this huge party and celebrate. Though, again, I love when it's a big, big deal and we're celebrating those too. There's nothing wrong with it. I just want you to look at places in your momhood, in your mom life, kind of just like that starting of college. The kids, it will get to the point when they do, quote, graduate from being under our roof all the time. But I want us moms to enjoy the now of it, that we also just really take advantage and celebrate even the everyday mundane stuff that takes place in our life, because you are showing up. You are doing the hard stuff, right? You are doing all that needs to be done to care for these human beings. And I just want you to look at those in a way that can bring on that you are just happy, proud, and accomplished and everything now. They're not waiting for some later day when you can then look back and say, okay, I did all that. I want you to start taking a look at your everyday life each day and seeing all the wins that are taking place for you so we can celebrate it. It's like when my clients want to move on. I want to pause, and I want you to do the same. I don't want you to quickly accomplish something and then move on to the next thing, because as human beings, we're always going to arrive and then come up with 5 more new goals to accomplish. And there's nothing wrong with making new goals, but we can really take advantage of our power in what we've created and feel good and celebrate what we already have accomplished and what we're continuing to do. And just taking a look at it every day is going to be so beneficial to how you feel. You hear that? because it's the most important thing I want you to take from this episode. When you celebrate milestones, when you celebrate even the smaller milestones of your day, you will then feel better because that celebration has you thinking about things in a celebratory way, which feels good. And mamas, all that you want to create for your life and what it is in your heart that you want for your children, it starts when you feel better, when you feel amazing, when you feel joyous and happy. And again, that's not something that I'm teaching that we have to feel all the time, but thinking positively, feeling positively will create positive results. So any part that I can help you have more positive results in your life, I'm going to go after. And celebrating you and celebrating milestones is one way to do that. So I just want to end this episode with a request, and then I'm going to share a little something. The request I have is that I want you to email me your celebrations. That's right. Danielle at danielleteenel.com, and that'll be in the show notes is my email address. And you can just write celebrate milestone or podcast 50 or, the Peaceful Mind podcast 50th, something like that. And email me a list of what you are celebrating. It doesn't matter to me if it is just that you got the laundry done that day, or if you want to tell me that you were able as a single mom to raise 3 teenagers. I just want to celebrate you. It'll be so fun. I would love to hear from you, and I want to celebrate with you, especially if you're someone right now thinking that no one else would be excited to hear these things. Then that makes it even more that I would love to hear about it from you. Okay, and then I just want to end with reading a few of the reviews that have come in for the Peaceful Mind podcast, because I think that would be a great way for me to celebrate, right? For me to celebrate what I started out when I created the Peaceful Mind podcast, and that after a year on this birthday, I would just like nothing more than to share with you and to acknowledge this is my celebration, to say that it has made a difference. It has impacted the world in a positive way. And for that, I am so grateful. So I just want to read a few reviews, starting with this one from New York, Catherine Ann. She says, love the support I receive from this podcast and Danielle. From MDTWPNW, I love Danielle's short, concise messages. They have helped me channel more peace in my life. Integrating Catholic wisdom into my daily habits has been so helpful. Thank you, Danielle. This is from iPad Alarm. I just found this podcast today by chance and have been hooked all day. I've been experiencing an overwhelming amount of anxiety for the last week, and so I was on the hunt for any way I could mellow out my emotions. Okay, so good. Funblee.com says, this podcast is so solid. Love Danielle's voice and message. And this is one of the rare podcasts that actually calms me down. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Okay, the Purposeful CEO said, the calmness and peace that Danielle exudes is priceless. She's a pro at sharing thought-provoking episodes. Keep up your incredible work, Danielle. Okay, Diane said, listening to Danielle is a sweet reminder that God loves a joyful and peaceful mind. Having worked with Danielle, I know she practices what she teaches. Each time I listen to Danielle's podcast, I feel like a good friend is giving me spot-on advice and coaxing me to be my best. H.H. Benji, I love everything Danielle is teaching. I feel more peace and calm after every single episode. And let's just say the last one, MR Jodo, then listen to this podcast if you want a happier life. Danielle teaches you consumable tools that will make your everyday life better. Listening to her podcast is like going to the gym for your mental health. Your life will be better because of time spent with this podcast. Oh my gosh, I have to stop right here because I'm getting a little choked up. And you know, I'm not reading these to you to do any kind of like bragging. I want you to see that even myself can feel uncomfortable celebrating and saying out loud to all of you these nice things about myself. It's just so interesting about how the brain is trying to tell me that, you know, that's a little conceited. But this is what I want to unravel for you moms, right? I want you to actually just step into more of that, of celebrating you. And that's what I was trying to do, that to show myself that this podcast, it is doing what I set it out to do, and there's positive feedback, and hearing and seeing the reviews, which I would love each and every one of you who's listening to go do so. It is just a beautiful way to celebrate, and it lets me know that there is more needed, and then I'm going to keep going. Okay, so happy birthday to the Peaceful Mind podcast. 50 episodes, 1 year of weekly getting the content out and being consistent. And I really do hope that you are enjoying it and applying it to your life. And just know that the podcast is only the surface. It's only the beginning of what is possible for you to create when you really take it to the next level and work with me personally. It is just exponential change on your life and the skill set of using your mind to just direct it in a way that creates these feelings and actions and results. Working with me is taking it all on this podcast to the next level. And I want to invite you to join me in that way. It'll be in the show notes, but as always, you can also find it on my website, danielletenold.com. But just sign up for a free call with me. A half an hour that could seriously change your life forever. And you better believe that we will be celebrating that. Okay, listeners, thank you for joining me for this celebration episode, and I will talk to you again next week as we enter another year of the Peaceful Mind podcast. Talk to you then. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Peaceful Mind podcast. Are you ready to take everything I teach you here and put it to work for your own life? To really learn how to have peace of mind no matter what is happening around you? If so, I'd love to have you as a client. As your coach, this is where you'll get personal and focused time on your own mind, using life coaching tools, concepts, and proven life-transforming wisdom, all through a faith-filled lens. To learn more about how we can work together, come on over to danielletenold.com. There, you'll see how to sign up for a free coaching consult and learn how to get started. Until next time, peace be with you always.